Good morning, Jubilee. So I am staying masked even when I'm talking this morning, which is really weird for me. And I want you to know I'm smiling behind this mask. But with this earpiece and my glasses, and it's just too much to take it on and off and on and off. So good morning, Jubilee. Can you see my smile? Yay. Oh, COVID. Well, you know, mask, vaccines. I'm back to a red band this morning. I think some of you are as well. Many of us on staff are in regular contact with very vulnerable populations, and with the current surge and contagious variant that's going around, we're just being a little more cautious this week, and I hope that you'll just hold us in grace through this as we all figure it out together. But I'm super glad to see you here this morning nonetheless. Technical things. So, hey, tech world, those of you who are out there, I'm not even sure which camera to look at right now, but I know you're out there, and I love that you're out there, and I hope that you have a great experience this week. Just a reminder, I know many of us prefer to be on Zoom because there's an interactive quality. However, there is a better online experience if you use either our YouTube channel or our Facebook Live channel. So if you're having trouble with the Zoom, try one of those other two, and you will probably find it a slightly better experience, although we're working on making them all a great experience for you. So thanks for being here, wherever you are, in the comfort of your own home, here in Asheville or far away. We welcome you. We're delighted you're here with us. Speaking of things like Zoom and Facebook Live and cameras and sound systems, we need volunteers. We need volunteers to do things like reset the chairs every week and clean up the altar every week and help us on Sunday mornings, make sure we're ready to welcome you in a loving and gracious and not rushed way. You might see that we got some volunteers over here. Willie is on vacation, so this is our first week with Van Cornegay and Patrick Fitzsimmons on the cameras. We've still got Bob here on our sound. Bob would like to take a vacation too. Bob's wife would especially like for Bob to take a vacation one week. So we're looking for volunteers to help do each of these things. If you're interested, please contact me or one of the folks directly, like Bob or Patrick, and we'll get you hooked up. Okay. Oh, one last tech thing, phones. I do this with you every week so that I can remember. There's a little airplane on your phone. Make the airplane light up. That means you're in airplane mode. That means that you can't use Wi-Fi during the celebration. And the reason for that is when we've got Wi-Fi uploads and downloads trying to go out and make a good experience for the people out there, it really helps if our upload and download speed is the best it can be. And if folks here are using Wi-Fi, that takes some of that bandwidth. So we really appreciate your cooperation with that. Thanks. Okay, here we are. We are now more than halfway through the Via Positiva. And today we are dancing with delight. Are these flowers not delightful this morning? Woo! In the Sikh tradition, there is a concept called Chardi Kala, which means ever rising high spirits, even in darkness. It means joy in the midst of labor. Chardi Kala understands that you can't force delight. You can only create the conditions to let it come and take you. This morning, we want to create the conditions to let delight come and take you. Doesn't that sound like a dance partner you'd want to have? Sunday celebrations at Jubilee are designed to create the conditions for delight. We sit in a circle where we can see each other's faces, or at least part of them right now, so that you know you're part of this delightful community. We face this central table and this sculpture so we can be reminded of the delight of creation and the delight of the Creator who made you all and who delights in you. We're reminded that we are part of all this goodness. Jubilee brings delight in lively, lovely music, song, dance. The conditions for delight are heard in the calling of the directions and the singing of the Tibetan bowls. The conditions for delight are seen in the artistic quilts and the quotes on them, and in the fluttering of the prayer flags over our heads and the energy they bring down. The conditions for delight can be smelled in the flowers that we bring and the incense that we burn. All of our senses are awakened here to the possibility of delight. And each of these conditions reminds us how to find delight not just in these Sunday morning circles, but always and everywhere. So today, friends, we are dancing with delight. Come on, let's dance. Oh, yeah. If you feel like standing and dancing, dance.
Good morning, Jubilee. I also am smiling real big under this mask. Dancing in delight. When I was a child, we always had a big garden, fresh tomatoes, and I remember of this time we talked about that first harvest after the solstice, that first full meal you get from your first harvest of the garden, and how we as kids just couldn't wait to taste those fresh tomatoes or whatever it was that was happening. And isn't that what we're doing right now, is harvesting the seeds for the next plant? Those spiritual seeds that what Laura was talking about, we're creating the foundation for the future. So what is it that we perceive now as delight? What delightfulness can we bring to the seeds? How can we take these seeds and sing to them of their future and their beauty and how they're going to contribute to our life and our future? So let's celebrate that delight of knowing that we have an opportunity to nurture the seeds that will nurture the foundation of our future. Let's face to the east, please. Oh, spirits of the east. We delight in you, in your presence in our lives. We delight in the wisdom and the medicine that you bring to us. We thank you for the warmth and the light that you provide to nurture the seeds of the future, to warm the soil so that the foundation of our dreams and our visions and our prayers might stand firm, so our next generations will know that we have come and laid out a good foundation for them. Thank you, all living beings of the light and of the sun and of the east, in a good way. Oh. Face to the south, please. Oh, ancestors of the south, we come to you in gratitude. We come to you with joy in our heart and in our souls and our spirits. Even the four-leggeds bring their best. We ask you all the living beings of the water nations to continue to nurture us and quench our thirst for the great mystery of life. Help us to continue to grow and reach for the light. Help us to continue to flow like the medicine that is offered to us by you. Thank you, cloud people and thunder beings and rain nation, for coming to visit in a good way. Oh, face to the west, please. Oh, ancestors of the west, to all of those that have gone before, thank you. We delight in all that you have given so that we might know this day, so that we might know hope and dreams and visions for our children and the next generations. Know that we are your children and your grandchildren and the generations to come. Thank you. Thank you for your wisdom. We ask you to continue to live in our hearts and our dreams and our memories. Thank you as we give each and every breath to be closer to you in a good way. I hope. Face to the north, please. Holy Spirit to the north. Thank you. Thank you for each and every breath that is a celebration of life. Thank you for each and every breath that is delight in coming closer to an agreement amongst all living things to always love, respect, and honor one another. Thank you, Wind Nation, for hearing our voice and our songs and our prayers. Thank you for carrying the vibrations of our hopes and dreams to the future. Thank you for each and every breath that fills our lungs. Thank you for all the stories that you carry through the bird people and through the rivers running and through the wind blowing. We honor you and thank you for nurturing us and soothing us in a good way, I hope. And face to the center, if you would, please. And to all the ancestors of the universe, thank you for all these things. Thank you for all the things unknown. Thank you for all the things unspoken that come from the greatness of the silence of our hearts and spirits. Know that we honor you and love you, and that we are always here for you as one indigenous tribe of this earth, one heartbeat, one tribe, and one people, and one prayer and one vision, in a good way, I hope.
As we move into our opening song, which you will be able to see in words up here, I invite you to remember that we are part of a bigger community and the baskets on the table allow us to continue to feed the hungry.
You don't leave the words to that.
Don't worry. Don't worry. Oh, it's so good to have Susie Davis sitting in today. And we've got Ryan and
Augustine on drums today.
Augustine. I know it started with an A and ended with an I-N-E. Augustine playing with us today. And of course, Daniel Barber. So Daniel. What? Susie's birthday's today?
No, it's Friday.
Yay!
Oh, we did. So it's today.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. It's also Augustine's son, Michelangelo's first birthday.
Woo! And you are here with us. Bless your heart. Well, I hope you enjoy celebrating with him when you get home. So yeah, wonderful band, and I'm sure that most of you got the news this week that Daniel Barber has decided to retire from 20 years of leading this band. Yeah. So Daniel's still a Jubilee minister. He's still the Jubilee minister of music. So we don't know exactly how this transformation from leading the band on every Sunday morning to whatever is next will happen, but we are excited and delighted to see how it might evolve. In the meantime, I've been getting lots and lots of questions this week about what's going to happen, and of course there's a lot of anxiety and nervousness, and I understand that. And what I want you to know is that as soon as they found out, HR committee and board and staff started meeting to look at how we can create a system and a process that is open and transparent and allows us to collect the information we need and to work with haste but not rush to fill this position, which is too important to rush. So we will be taking our time with that. You can reach out to me, you can reach out to Patrick, you can reach out to board members if you have thoughts and concerns about that, or if you know people that you think might be interested. And we will be announcing what the job description is and what the hiring process and interview process will look like. So pay attention to that. It's all coming. We're working on it. Also, that means that we may have some guest musicians in September as we take our time to make sure we fill this position. We've had some great guest musicians over the last year while we've been on Zoom, so we're looking forward to that as well. And we know that a lot of you are already asking about how are we going to celebrate Daniel? How are we going to honor and bless his time with us? And that is also in process. The board jumped on that right away this week and started talking and thinking about that. We want to really honor Daniel's desires in that, as well as our need to recognize and bless him. So we are working on that as well. So just keep watching for more details. The best way to know all of these things is by getting our weekly e-news. If you are not signed up yet for the weekly e-news, it comes out on Thursday mornings usually. This week it was Thursday afternoon, as we were making some last-minute COVID masking decisions. So that's the best way to find out. You can do that on our website. There's a subscribe button. Other things going on, Jubilee in action this week. We are, let's see, Julie Parker is in the hospitality room with beautiful photography. Julie, wave your hand. Back there. A portion of all sales will be donated to our hunger fund, so thank you for that, Julie. Also, I mentioned earlier our need for some volunteers, and I don't know if Misty has gone downstairs now or is still in the room, but we have childcare now. We want to make sure that you know that if you've got small children and you want to put them in childcare during the celebration, that's happening downstairs. She's there every week. She hasn't had kids every week, but she's there anyway. So we hope that that will continue. Finally, mini retreats. Oh, and bringing all flowers. Look at these gorgeous flowers. throughout the Positiva, we're asking you to bring from your gorgeous yards to share with our gorgeous table. So thanks for all those who have done that and for this morning. And if anyone wants to volunteer with that kind of thing, that kind of beautification, we're always looking for volunteers. Finally, mini retreats. So we are proceeding with this Tuesday's mini retreat. We were able to regroup as a team and figure out how we could do, we had a lot of closeness planned in our retreats and a lot of close talking and a lot of touching each other and touching things together. So we're trying to find a way to do that, to bring that same spirit, but do it in a way that feels safe, gives people options. We are requesting people to mask. There is still a sign up for the event on the 29th, which is planned to be in this space. If we have to adjust as we get closer to that, we will certainly let you know. But if you're interested in the mini retreats, you can still sign up for the one on the 29th. And so, speaking of guest musicians and that sort of thing, our gift today is a dance by Kyrstin Will Ezzell to an original song by her husband, Will.
Another word for delight is wonder, and this is a song about sort of appreciating the wonder that is all around us, and each verse is a different element. So. And if you guys want to join in, you can. It's just going to be me humming behind me.
Okay. I want to see this.
Is it okay if I unmask? Is anyone else using this? Okay. And it's an ohm. If you guys want to join, you'll figure it out after a while if you want to join in too. This is kind of a campfire sort of song. When I awoke, it started raining right outside my window. So I asked the water draining, tell me where would she go? She was flowing from the mountain, she was flowing to the sea. Ever wonder where the water wandered after me? I was headed down the highway, walking past a windmill. Ere he started blowing my way, swirling what had been still. He was blowing from the mountains, he was blowing to the sea. For wonder if the air you're breathing came from me. The evening calls for a campfire to light up the shadows. Roasting on a hanger wire, smoldered to marshmallows. Warmth was made out of the fire, s'mores were made and ate by me. Ever wonder if that fire anyone could see? The time had finally come for sleeping. Earth would be my pillow. Lie beneath a willow, weeping worms would wriggle below. Stars were burning o'er the mountains, rains were blowing from the sea. Always wonder what more wonders anywhere could be. Always wonder what more wonders anywhere could be.
Now is the time that we ring and sing our bowls. There are bowls on the table if you would like, if you brought your own. There are shaky things and bells. So if you feel like ringing and singing, please join in. The delight of the resonance of the bowls we feel in our bodies. The delight of the candles on the table that we light in prayer and the flickering of that light. The delight of joining our hearts, opening our hearts to pray for all that is on our hearts and minds. With joy and delight to be thankful for all that we are grateful for today. Let's ring our bells. For all that delights us. As fires rage in Greece and Turkey and Northern California, as COVID cases rage in this country and other parts of the world, as floods rage, we take a deep breath. And we ask, what is ours to do? What can bring our own heart's delight as we reach out in compassion? Where is that place where the world's deep need and our deep gladness meet? For all the people and places in need of our compassion and love and joy and delight, we ring our bells. Holy, holy, holy one, swirling in our midst, dancing amidst us, between us, among us, within us. We bring our bodies, we bring our minds, we bring our souls, we bring our spirits, we bring our voices, and we ask that we might be opened in compassionate wisdom to delight in each other and your world, for this amazing gift of life to be here now in the midst of it all. We say thank you. Thank you, Divine One. Thank you, Holy Spirit. Thank you, Creator. Thank you. Amen. As we sing our song of peace, I invite you to first sing it through once, and then we can stand up and greet each other with peace. Maybe this morning rather than this. Do what you're comfortable doing. Sing. Getting us to stop passing the peace and go to the next thing is always a slow process, and I love that about this community. I love that about this community. Listen now for these ancient words. From the poet Hafiz we hear, the time for asking who's right and who's wrong, who's drunk and who's sober, who's closer to God and who's farther away, all that is over now. This caravan is led instead by great delight. That simple joy which sits with us now, that is the grace, Hafiz. You may have just poured a toast that will wash love clean of all its stories. And from Anthony DeMello, behold the one beholding you and smiling. And finally, from the Gospel of Matthew, this is my beloved Son, in whom I am well pleased. Friends, this is ancient wisdom and holy word. Thanks be to all that is wise and holy. All creation is wisdom and holy word. All creation sings of wisdom and God. Hallelujah. Oh, let me welcome longtime jubilant George Flemming to share with you today. George is very familiar to most of you, probably more familiar to you than I am, an inspirational speaker, entrepreneur, leader, teacher of leaders, inspirer of leaders, and himself and most importantly, a student of delight. George.
Thank you, Laura. Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Wow, it's so exciting to be back in this space. It's been since Ash Wednesday that I was here last, in part because we're just getting back, and in part, I think I've been out of town the last 6 weekends. And so it's just such a thrill to be here. I almost feel like I'm tripping, coming back to this magical place that I remember. Like, remember that thing we had, Jubilee? Like it was a memory or it was a dream we had, and now it's percolating back, and it's just super exciting to be here. And Jubilee has played such an important place in my life in many ways, and one of it is Jubilee has encouraged me to grow in different, grow in different ways over the years, and it's encouraging me this morning to stretch. And one way I'm going to stretch is to let you know that my name is George, and I have a mouth under here. I'm tired of hiding my mouth, and I'm going to let it out. People, the mouth is out. Good job, Daniel. Good job. Have you ever had that dream, like I know I've had more than a few times in my life, where you're walking into school when you were younger, or you walk into an important business meeting and you realize you're in your underwear, you're naked? I'm feeling a little bit like this now. Everybody has their underwear on, and I don't. It's also exciting that we are live. Patrick, which camera are we on? Okay. We're on the World Wide Web right now, folks. How exciting. Jessica, if you could please tell Craig I can see him walking through the room in his underwear. Thank you.
Kind of liking the fact that my underwear is see-through, George?
Some of you may be familiar with Father Greg Boyle. He has been the priest at the poorest church, or the poorest parish, in the entire humongous Archdiocese of Los Angeles. And that parish also happens to be ground zero for the highest concentration of gangs in LA. And he wrote a beautiful and moving book called Tattoos of the Heart, which is full of amazing stories about his experiences and relationships with hundreds and hundreds of gang members over the decades. He's most known for starting Homeboy and Homegirl Industries, which includes, they have a moving company, a bakery, Homegirl Cafe, a printing shop, which is now an LA institution and also a national model. Yet today I want to reference a story in his book that doesn't reference his gang members, but a story about a good friend of his and fellow priest, where his friend, this priest, was taking care of his dying father. The priest would read to his elderly father, who was in his last days. And each night he would read to him. But the challenge, he realized that his father wouldn't fall asleep. The father just couldn't take his eyes off of his son. He had so much love for him. And his father, Greg, writes in his book, quote, "How much more so God?" Anthony DeMello writes, "Behold the one, capital O, beholding you and smiling." Behold the one, beholding you and smiling. Can we let that in? Father Greg goes on to write, "God would seem to be too occupied in being unable to take his or her eyes off of us to spend any time raising an eyebrow in disapproval. What's true of Jesus is true for us, and so this voice breaks through the clouds and comes right at us. You are my beloved, in whom I'm wonderfully pleased." Wonderfully pleased, otherwise known as delighted. I'm delighted in you, my child. Who, me? I'm delighted in you, my child. Yeah, but you know all my dark sides, God. I'm delighted in you, my child. But how about when I'm delighted in you, my child? Sometimes I think that God must have poor vision and be missing that which is obvious to me and to many of us about how undelightful I can be at different times, or how imperfect I am or others might be. Perhaps we might believe that something or someone must be so charming or so sweet or perfect or shiny to warrant this label of being delightful. Maybe God does have poor vision, or poor vision in a good way. Selective vision. Maybe God's vision only sees in certain spectrums, that she can only see the light spectrum, the light, D-A, light. And perhaps God has trouble seeing the dark. Or more likely to God, it's all light, delight, which leads to God's experience of delight. Letting in the light leads to delight. Letting in the light leads to delight. Letting in the light leads to delight. Given we humans are projection machines, projecting our inner world, inner beliefs, rights and wrongs onto others of the world, our ability to delight in the other is likely impacted by our inability at times to delight in ourselves, and vice versa. You are my beloved, in whom I'm wonderfully pleased. Do you find it easy to fully accept God's delight in you right now or at any moment? How about God's readiness to delight in people you get triggered by? Are you okay with God delighting in each and every one of them? Our ability to delight in ourselves or others undoubtedly ties to our frame of reference for how all of this works, what this world is, why we're here, how we see God. If we see it as a lifelong self-improvement project for ourselves or others, then we always have a bit more to do, a bit or a lot more to change, to be good, passing, and certainly before ever attaining an exceptional label or stamp that proclaims delightful. But all of that is within a model based on subject, object, right, wrong, the need to earn what we mistakenly believe are the qualities of being delightful. But do we really feel that's how God sees it all? Is God sitting there evaluating the plus and minus columns? Or does she see all of this through the frequency of light, through the frequency of delight? Hafiz shared wisdom into this question so well with this one. The time for asking who's right and who's wrong, who's drunk and who's sober, who's closer to God and who's farther away, all that is over now. Who's right and wrong? It's the Republicans. No, it's the Democrats. It's the vaccinators. No, it's the non-vaccinators. Won't they ever get it right? They're drunk. I'm sober. No, you're drunk. It's all over now, not tomorrow when we figure it out or get closer. It's all over now. This caravan is led instead by a great delight. Wow. A caravan led by a great delight. A caravan not led by dogma or lectures or threatens. A caravan led by delight. That simple joy which sits with us now is not trying to teach us or convince us or to do something different. The joy is simply sitting with us now. That is the grace, Hafiz. You may have just poured a toast that will wash love clean of all of its stories.
Leads to delight, letting in the light. 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 Leads to delight.
Hafiz gives insight that perhaps delight is right here, right now, in this moment. If the quest to prove who's right, who is wrong is done, if clarifying who is drunk and who's sober is over, then we are left with this caravan led by a great delight, a joy that sits with us now. The light was here all along. It is here. If our eyes are willing to see on the spectrum of the light, delight, delight. While we might want to experience more delight, like anything essential, anything of the divine, we can't chase it, force it, or manufacture it. I think delight is a lagging indicator that follows something much more simple, much more subtle and quiet. I think it can often follow simple yet full presence, being fully present with whatever is in front of us and within us in any moment. And maybe if we're trying to concoct a recipe for delight, we throw in a splash of openness and gratitude. Presence, openness, gratitude. We've all experienced that when we find ourselves so present in the presence of something, a bug, a leaf, perhaps a person, where we seem to be tuned to a different frequency, looking at, or more so being with, in the frequency of something with deep presence, openness, gratitude. Seeing past the form itself and tuning into the light within it, not trying to conjure up a feeling or a state, yet fully surrender to the magic, the light of this speck of creation in front of us. It's like light tripping on delight of this thing in front of us, tripping on you, tripping on me, yet a trip that only requires the vehicle, the drug of presence, openness, and gratitude.
Letting in the light leads to delight. 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 Letting in the light leads to delight.
I want to share a story. I didn't even ask her for permission, but my sister Joni was sharing with us last Sunday. Is that okay if I share that story about Laura? Okay. Joni was sharing last Sunday about a recent excursion she had to, I think it was a Marshall's, with her friend Laura. Laura is a woman who's been in Asheville for a number of years, a homeless woman, slightly shorter, African-American, radiant face and eyes. Often she has a bike she's zipping around on. And Joni Tony took Laura to Marshall's to get her a dress. So they go into Marshall's and they're making their way over to the, that's that section of the clothing. And Laura was just tripping on the entire experience. And not just being in a Marshall's with all these clothes, but was tripping on everything in the store, and especially the people. And as she passed people in the aisles, her eyes of wonder and presence, she was tripping on just the experience of being with other people. And with no filter, but being able to pass somebody in the aisle and say, "Hello, how are you?" And expressing her excitement to see them, seeing the wonder in them. And at some point, they were making their way down an aisle, and there were a couple of teenagers sitting on their phones, and maybe their mom or something was shopping, and they were really immersed in their screen with a really clear body language. I'm not here to talk with you. I'm here to be on my screen. And Laura comes right up to them and crouches down since they were sitting down. "Hello! Isn't this amazing?" And they looked up from their screens, but her energy of presence and delight was so strong they could only but help to look up and smile and say, "Yes, yes." 3 days ago, I gave a ride to a couple of homeless men and sat with one of them, Brian, for a while. As we hung out, we were sitting outside. He described to me all these things that he can see all around him and all around us that day. He could see kids playing in the sky. He pointed to a tree and asked me if I couldn't see the plant spirit. My initial thought was that maybe he's got some wires crossed. Pretty quickly, I started to wonder that maybe his wires, his vision, like Laura, is actually more attuned. Mystics are those who can see the divine, the magic, the spirit in the everyday, the delight in the everyday. Are Laura and Brian mentally unstable, homeless people? Or are they mystics in our midst who are teaching us to see, attuned to the frequency of the light, the frequency of delight? Delight seems to have an element of wonder, of innocence, perhaps even childlike. "Wow, you're amazing. Wow, you're a miracle. You are divine." Maybe it's about shifting our eyesight. Like the bumper sticker says, if you're not delighted, then you're not looking hard enough. Have you been delighted today? Have you seen delight? I think when those boys at that Marshall store looked up and saw Laura staring at them with full presence, openness, love, and gratitude, they experienced, "Behold the one beholding you and smiling. Behold the one beholding you and smiling in the light, in delight."
Living in the light leads to delight. Living in the light leads to delight.
I'm feeling called to have you stand up, shake the booty.
Leads to delight. Living in the light 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 leads to delight.
Thank you. It's the oldest trick in the book. You get people to stand up and clap, and you have a standing ovation every time. Thank you.
Thank you, George. And I'm going to make a request. Daniel, could you just keep that going for a minute while we send around the bowls and think about the delight of being part of this community? of money, and we observe these gifts of flowers, and we observe these gifts of wisdom brought by George, these gifts of music brought by our musicians, these gifts of presence brought by each of you here today. And we delight in these gifts, and we dedicate these gifts to the service of delight. And we know that as we dedicate them, we multiply them, and they ripple out. And so we say, thank you, thank you, thank you. We offer our delight in delight. Oh.
Peace from you to me, peace that lets us be. Peace from me to you, peace keeps moving through. It's the river of love, and it flows on through. With the river of love, let it wash through you. It's the river of love, and it flows on through. With the river of love, let it wash through you.
Jubilee. This is a circle of delight. And as we break this circle and walk out into the world, we take that circle of delight with us. We take that light from within and shine it. We take that light that comes from that source of light, of all light, who delights in us. And we look out and we delight in all we see. So go out into your world in delight this week. Oh, yeah.
We are going, heaven knows where we are going. We'll know where we will get there. Heaven knows how we will get there. We know we will. It may be hard, we know. When the road may be mighty and rough, but we'll get there. Heaven knows how we will get there. We know we will. Whoa, yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah, yeah. Whoa, yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah, yeah. Whoa, yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah, yeah.
Thank you.